madness and their histories of oppression and resistance as ways to inform policy and activist resolutions to vast social problems such as incarceration. To those who claim that prison abolition and massive decarceration are utopian and could never happen, this book shows that they've happened already, although in a different arena, in the form of mass closures of residential institutions and psychiatric hospitals, and the deinstitutionalization of those who resided in them. I suggest that it is essential to interrogate deinstitutionalization as a social movement, a mindset, a logic to counter carceral logics. I argue that deinstitutionalization is not just something that has happened, but was a call for an ideological shift in the way we react to difference among us. Therefore, one aim of this book is to construct and activate a genealogy of the largest decarceration movement in U.S. history, deinstitutionalization. Understanding how to activate this knowledge can lead to more nuanced actions toward and understandings about reducing reliance on prisons and other carceral enclosures as holders for people who are deemed by society to be dangerous, abnormal, or disturbed. In so doing, we can build coalitions between queer, racial justice, and disability justice organizing. By connecting deinstitutionalization with prison abolition, I also elucidate some of the limitations of disability rights and inclusion discourses, and of tactics like litigation. Rich lessons for prison abolition are available in the history of deinstitutionalization. And yet, deinstitutionalization is repeatedly blamed for the rise of U.S. mass incarceration. It is often implied that the main reason people with psychiatric disabilities ended up in prisons and jails is the closure of psychiatric hospitals in the early 1960s. Such claims amplify calls that condemn the deinstitutionalization movement as irresponsible and for leaving people in the streets. But as I show in Chapter 4, deinstitutionalization did not lead to homelessness and increased incarceration. Racism and neoliberalism did, via privatization, budget cuts in all service, welfare sectors, and little to no funding for affordable and accessible housing and social services, while the budgets for corrections, policing, and punishment of mostly poor people of color skyrocketed. Let me explain what I mean by deinstitutionalization as a phenomenon and logic. The closure of psychiatric hospitals and large state institutions for those with developmental disabilities has been a major policy trend in most U.S. states in the past few decades. The population of people with intellectual and/or developmental disabilities, IDD, in large residential institutions, more than 16 persons, peaked at 194,650 in 1967. By 2015, this number had declined to 69,557. The number of people with IDD labels living in institutions decreased by 80% from 1977 to 2015. While the number of people living in small residences, 6 or fewer people, increased by greater than 1,900% over this same time period. In the last 20 years, the number of people with IDD who receive support and services from their state while living in the home of a family member has also increased by 135%. As a result, by 2014, 14 U.S. states had closed all their state-operated institutions for people with IDD. These states still have residents with IDD labels. They have just learned how to accommodate their needs outside of the institutional framework. An accompanying shift occurred in the field of mental health in the 1960s with the closure of large state